Besides all the repair modules we've gone through, RX also includes a number of utility modules, which also provide some highly useful processing. Two such modules address EQ-related needs. RX's EQ is a version of the same isotope EQ design found in ozone and neutron. It's a very flexible 8-band, fully parametric layout. The two outside bands are low-pass and high-pass filters, respectively, with choices of 12, 24, and 48 dB per octave slopes, along with an option for a steeper brick wall filter characteristic for technical applications, like sample editing, perhaps. The inner 6 bands can all be independently switched between low shelf, high shelf, and bell curve response, with the standard frequency, gain, and Q controls per band. There are options for an analog or digital characteristic, and they each bring a distinctly different character to EQ adjustments. If you're familiar with the EQ in ozone, which is basically the same design as this one, you'll note that this EQ doesn't have quite as many features, omitting things like fixed or proportional Q and a few other options. But seeing as RX is more geared to repair than mixing or mastering, this EQ is more than enough to handle just about any tonal modification you might need to make. More interesting than the basic EQ, the EQ Match module does for EQ what Ambience Match does for reverb and room tone. It addresses situations where a recording or part of a recording is a poor tonal match for another track or section. With music, this could happen with a comp track made from several takes, where the player's tone changed just a little from take to take, like a guitarist who constantly fiddles with his amp settings, changing the tone just enough to be noticeable when the finished comp shifts between takes. It can also happen with vocals, with both sung and spoken word performances. The vocalist may have moved around a bit too much on mic, or his tone changed a bit over the course of the tracking session, and again, the finished comp reveals the poor tonal match from section to section. For whatever reason, you find yourself looking at a track where some lines stick out with a clearly different tonal character than the rest. Trying to match the tone of those outliers to the tone of the rest of the track by ear with EQ can be a fairly tedious, not always fruitful exercise. Experienced engineers and mixers will have certainly developed their skills in this regard, but it's still often fairly time-consuming to get a good enough match to make the different-sounding sections blend seamlessly. Fortunately, the EQ Match module can facilitate the process. It's pretty easy to use once you get to know the routine. Here's an example of an electric guitar comp track. You can hear the sections where the tone from one or more of the takes used to construct the comp is a poor tonal match for the rest of the audio on the track. I'll analyze the preferred reference EQ curve in one of the good sections, and then select the mismatched sections. Now, EQ Match will analyze those areas and generate a curve to match the tone there to the learned reference curve, creating a more consistent tone throughout the comp. And there it is, a fast and efficient solution to an otherwise time-consuming exercise. Next up, RX's time and pitch processing options.